Total control, uncontested skies. We loiter over Iran. We rain down death whenever we want. That was the sales pitch. Then the rescue helicopters launched. And in the gap between those two sentences, between the boast and the search and rescue chatter that followed, you will find everything you need to know about how this war is actually going, not the version from the podium, the real version, the one playing out in the skies over the Strait of Hormuz while patriotic music was reportedly blasting inside the White House. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you what appears to have happened, why Trump and his defense secretary sold a version of this war that may already be collapsing under its own weight, and why the world you are living in today looks different from the one you woke up in just 1 week ago. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a business partner who keeps promising clients that nothing can go wrong. Every risk is handled. The operation is clean and completely under control. You are hearing this from the boardroom. Meanwhile, out on the floor, something is clearly not right. The machinery is making sounds it was not making yesterday. People are moving fast in directions that do not match the presentation. And your partner is still at the podium, still performing. How long before the clients stop believing the presentation and start watching the floor? Hold that thought. Drop your answer in the comments. When leadership confuses bravado with strategy, is that strength or just expensive delusion? Let us rewind the clock. Trump and his defense secretary were not describing a messy, limited confrontation. They were describing a fantasy. Complete air superiority, uncontested skies. We negotiate with bombs, keep the oil, empire in all caps, dominance without friction, power without consequence, a war designed for cable news. That was the first miscalculation. They treated intimidation as if it were the same thing as leverage. It is not. Intimidation works when the other side believes you are disciplined and willing to stop. Leverage works when you have an off-ramp the other side can actually trust. Tehran, by contrast, was preparing a very different game, not a clean conventional duel, a slow architecture of denial, ambiguity, attrition, and narrative warfare. One side was selling spectacle, the other was building friction, strategy versus outrage, positioning versus reaction. And once certainty starts cracking, every boast you made becomes evidence against you. 3 receipts, 3 moments that reveal exactly where this war is heading. Receipt number 1, the narrative collision. Official channels push back aggressively on early claims that American aircraft had been damaged or downed. The language is absolute, all aircraft accounted for. Iran repeats false claims. Zero ambiguity. Washington wants to dominate not just the airspace, but the information space. It wants the world to believe the script is locked. Then the script starts improvising. Reports emerge of an F-15E, then an A-10 near the Strait of Hormuz, then HH-60G combat search and rescue helicopters reportedly damaged while responding to something in the operational area. Search and rescue helicopters. Think about what that means. You do not launch search and rescue into an active combat zone because everything is going according to plan. You launch it because someone needs to be rescued. Not every viral battlefield claim is true. Fog of war is real. But once public chatter shifts from one disputed loss to multiple platform claims and confirmed rescue activity, the issue is no longer whether every detail checks out. The issue is credibility. Certainty got hit, and certainty, once it takes a round, does not recover the same way armor does. The careful non-answers, the aggressive pushback that raised more questions than it answered, all of it was deafening in exactly the way silence is always deafening when something has gone wrong and nobody wants to say it. Receipt number 2, the negotiation mirage. Trump told NBC that the possible downing of a United States aircraft would not affect negotiations with Iran. His exact framing was direct. No, not at all. It is a war. Stop right there. If you call it a war, not a limited action, not a precision strike campaign, you are admitting scale, stakes, and legal weight that the Constitution assigns to Congress. You are doing it casually in a television interview as if the word carries no consequence. Now put that next to what was reportedly happening on the diplomatic track at the same moment. Iranian officials were telling mediators they did not want a meeting with American officials in Islamabad. The regional effort being explored through Pakistan had hit a dead end. This did not look like a healthy negotiation track running parallel to a military campaign. It looked like exploratory contacts being marketed as diplomacy while both sides escalated. Washington was selling an off-ramp it had not actually built. The table was being described as stable before anyone had finished dragging the chairs into the room. The American public, allied governments, and markets pricing energy risk in real time were all told the talks were alive. The talks appear to have been a performance of talks. Receipt number 3, the rhetoric reveal. Keep the oil. Open the strait. Make a fortune. We negotiate with bombs. Complete control of Iranian skies. These are not the phrases of a government running a careful, strategically coherent operation. These are the phrases of a government that decided the performance of dominance was the same thing as dominance itself. Pair that with something happening simultaneously on the domestic front. Reports that there is no money for daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, or basic social support. Those budgets must be cut. But there is always money for escalation. Always money for the next carrier group, the next strike package. If you are an American family right now, that trade-off shows up in your cost of living, your health care, and the public services being told to wait while the bombs fly. And when foreign generals start mocking American planning as delusional, when Iranian propaganda operations release material aimed personally at American leadership, they are not proving America is weak in the abstract. They are signaling something more specific. They see an opening in the narrative armor. They smell vanity. They smell impatience. They smell a power talking louder because it is no longer sure it is being believed. If this analysis is connecting dots you have not seen assembled anywhere else, hit subscribe right now. This is moving faster than any single outlet can track. Tehran does not need symmetrical power. It needs survivability. Enough missile and drone capacity to keep risk alive. Enough regional leverage to threaten the strait. Enough narrative discipline to say we are not negotiating on your timetable. Trump and his defense secretary, by contrast, keep behaving as though volume itself is strategy. They boast, they overstate, they promise total control. That is not a network. That is blunt force wrapped in branding. And the moment the branding cracks, the force looks smaller than it did before. What we are watching from Washington looks more like controlled demolition performed by people who think it is architecture. So what does this mean for your life? Every hint of escalation at the Strait of Hormuz hits shipping insurance, freight pricing, and fuel costs before a single additional shot is fired. Companies reroute, insurers reprice. And once those decisions are made, they do not snap back because an official appears on television saying everything is under control. Once a shipper changes lanes, it tends to stay in the new lane. Once governments shift spending toward a war footing, the domestic programs that got cut do not automatically get restored. The jobs follow the new routes, the contracts follow the new risks, the budget priorities follow the new fear. 3 paths forward, managed reset. Fear of a wider catastrophe forces everyone toward a face-saving pause. A back channel produces a framework. Both sides claim victory, but the structural damage is real. The myth of effortless control does not come back. Every government that started building alternatives keeps them operational because now they understand why they need them. Domino realignment. Other powers conclude the old center of gravity is no longer reliable. Gulf states hedge harder. Asian importers diversify faster. Europe builds independent security arrangements. America remains powerful but no longer the unquestioned axis. The bypasses become part of the permanent map. Escalation spiral, more strikes, more maritime pressure, more loose talk about oil extraction and regime punishment. War powers questions intensify, proxy fronts widen, markets wobble. Miscalculation replaces strategy because there is no strategy left to replace. This is the scenario the current trajectory points toward. No visible diplomacy, no credible off-ramp, just volume and blunt force and the hope that the war zone eventually gets the message. It will not. The relationship between rhetoric and reality in this conflict will not be the same after this week. The lesson has been learned by every government watching. Never assume the loudest power is also the steadiest. Never confuse air superiority talk with total control. Trump did not create every fault line here. But this administration has a particular talent for turning hard situations into self-inflicted credibility crises, for overpromising in the morning and managing the gap in the afternoon, for selling total control right up until the rescue helicopters launch. Did this administration dismantle its own credibility faster than any adversary could have done alone? If the talks were never truly alive, what exactly has the public been told to believe? And when the history of this moment is written, will it say that the most powerful military on earth was undone by an asymmetric adversary or by a government that confused the performance of certainty with certainty itself? Drop your answers in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe because the next chapter is coming fast. This story is not slowing down. Do not look away. This content is commentary and analysis for informational purposes only. It does not constitute financial, legal, or geopolitical advice. Consult qualified experts before making decisions based on the information presented.